What's up, y'all? Uh, basically, thinking that I was gonna re-record some of my old songs. Feeling like people hadn't heard them, and like, I need to create a situation where people can hear my old stuff. And then I just started writing stuff in my car, and I talked to a couple of guys who, I know who are in the music business, and I started feeling like I was like, hey, it'd be cool if I could like, I'm showing y'all this clock because it represents the timing, when you just look at how many days I've been recording and all that. So it's kind of like an art piece what I'm doing now. So dig it. Um, so yeah, I started talking to guys who were in the music business that I felt like had that hustle game, where when you get done with a record, you can give it to them and they can just send it to the world. Um, I found that to not be the case, sadly, that the music industry has changed so much that a lot of the pool that a lot of these guys used to have, it's all automated now. And it's not that they're irrelevant or anything, but it's just that what they do is automated. And a lot of connections have passed on, like a lot of the great musicians that I love playing with have passed on. Uh, the music industry is in a time that has passed on as well when it comes to a lot of these connections and plugs and pull that people say they have. So I had to go back independent. I had to go real, 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 real deep in the independent mind state to understand that people don't have these $5 million, $10 million record deals where they're going to give you $1 million a record for the next 10 years. And if they do, there's definitely a catch. And so I spent a whole year writing a record contract for myself, 15 pages. And if anybody out there is interested in getting a copy of the record contract that I wrote for myself, I mean, it's lovely, it's beautiful. I took so much of that crap out of there, that people try to own you with, and I really changed it into stuff that was the opposite of what it was saying. Like I gave myself more leverage every time I read something like that. But yeah, take your time, do your record, explore, talk to the people you need to talk to, and then you'll realize, like I realized, that you got to do it yourself. Um, there are times that you need to allow people to assist you on a professional level when it comes to certain things, but otherwise, you gotta figure this game out for yourself. Um, it's been a long road for me. I began recording records over 20 years ago, and those records that I recorded were smash hits. I'm talking about 10 million copies sold. So I learned from that, and I learned from my other records that I've played on. I've played on some smooth jazz records that have just hit the top of the billboards immediately. Um, Situations where uh, the permanent band members were, well, some of that I can't talk about, but I've had to come in as a cleanup man on some records and play my horn, in bands that I'm not in. Um, and I've played on some records where I've toured with bands and we've gotten off the road and we've played and it's come out really good. So I've done it a lot of different ways. The way I'm recording this record is a bit different. It's I just wrote a list and kept writing lists of people that I actually love what they do and I trust with my music. And I tried some guys out on some gigs and they showed me some things that were amazing. And we went into the studio and that vibe just transcended onto the recording. So that's what this record is about. It's a composition based record. I guess this video is more to talk about. I'm not I'm not gonna compete with other saxophone players in the music industry. I'm gonna work with them and learn from them. I came up in Texas learning how to work with players, not work against players, not try to create some kind of hype over this guy versus this guy. Um, Anybody can win anything on any given day. You look at basketball, you look at football, you look at boxing. It's what it is. Um, I'm not making a record to compete on the saxophone. I love competing on the saxophone. Don't get me wrong. I love jam sessions where we call Cherokee Countdown. Giant Steps. I got some more tunes we can call. Trinkle Tinkle, 26-2. We can call, what's the name of this tune? This hard tune. Pensativa. We can get into some tunes, and that's how you do that. But when it comes to these recordings, this is how we trying to feed our family, y'all. So we're not trying to shut nobody down, compete, do anything like that. We will compete, having fun in the tradition of jazz on a bandstand with a swinging rhythm section. That's how we do that. Okay. So if you ever want to compare me to some saxophone player out there, set up a jam session somewhere. Okay, and we can settle all that then.